All right, good evening, folks. I'm Carl Higbie in for Eric Bolling tonight. The battle for the soul of the nation, where like 2,700 people tuned into his Twitter live stream to hear this broad group of generalities of buzzwords in between insulting half the country. It's also, who was their events coordinator? Like Darth Vader? I mean, did you see the background? Even CNN characterized this as combative. This just shows how the party in power right now fundamentally does not understand or even care to understand half the country. They're more interested in labeling us enemies of the state while screaming, unity!
Too much of what's happening in our country today is not normal. Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundations of our republic.
This was their primetime address. This was scripted and like planned. Folks, they like bounced this around to people and checked it with others. This is what they came up with? This was an attempt, I guess, at rebranding a feeble old man into a strong, powerful leader, or standing up to evil, maybe? I don't know what their real goal was here, but you know what this speech sounded a lot like?
Americans are asking, why do they hate us? They hate what they see right here in this chamber. A democratically elected government. Their leaders are self-appointed. They hate our freedoms, our freedom of religion, our freedom of speech, our freedom.
Yeah. That was George Bush after 9/11, except he was talking about terrorists. Joe Biden, minutes after opening the speech with my fellow Americans, was talking about half the country. He was talking about Republicans. He was talking about people who voted for Donald Trump. Joe Biden spent an entire campaign complaining about how Donald Trump divided the country. Listen to this.
The only thing that can tear America apart is America itself. And that's exactly what Donald Trump's been trying to do from the very beginning of his campaign. Dividing America, pitting Americans against one another.
Yeah, he just spent 27 minutes doing that last night. Mark it, folks. Going back to when Joe Biden was the VP, this party, the Democratic Party, has been teeing it up to start criminalizing people for opposing the current administration. Look, Lois Lerner was the start of it with the IRS targeting conservative groups. The DOJ was just caught calling parents domestic terrorists. They just hired 87,000 new IRS agents that have universal authority to reach into your bank account, take out money, even without a warrant. You're already seeing California looking to criminalize doctors for challenging COVID narratives. No dissenting opinions. You want to know how dictators get their start? This is how. Scary, folks.
And this is a nation that rejects violence as a political tool. We do not encourage violence.
Oh, you don't? Your VP helped bail out rioters that burned cities to the ground. You're also standing in a city that, under heavy Democratic leadership, obviously, has allowed criminals back onto the street in record numbers. The crime rate in Philly is like 3 times that of the rest of the state. I mean, seriously, who is in charge of these optics at this White House? The common theme here of buzzwords was backwards and forwards. But I would suggest, folks, that him and I have very different fundamental differences on the application of these two terms. Listen.
MAGA forces are determined to take this country backwards. Backwards to an America where there is no right to choose, no right to privacy, no right to contraception, no right to marry who you love.
Yeah. Back to $2 gas. I don't know what he's talking about. You want to know what the MAGA agenda is? Like, these people just fundamentally don't understand what the Conservative Party stand for. And quite frankly, the Republican agenda is now the MAGA agenda. Energy independence, secure our borders, no drag queens in elementary schools, noble concept. Don't let criminals out of jail, put American interests in front of every single other country, and abide by the Constitution, how it's written. And when it's not written in there, let's let the states decide. 10th Amendment. It's not a complicated platform, folks. Joe Biden, in front of Independence Hall, the origin of our Constitution, kept talking about we the people. He has zero idea what that term means. Folks, I gotta say, had the colonies lost the war, history would have referred to we the people as a bunch of tyrants and treasonous extremists who crossed the Delaware barefoot on Christmas with weapons of war. But they don't, because we won. We beat tyranny. We beat an overreaching government, kind of like we're seeing now. We fought the Revolutionary War over a 2.5% tax hike in a breakfast beverage. And now Joe Biden, the guy talking about founding principles, is hiring 87,000 new IRS agents that can use deadly force if necessary. Great. Joe's historical reference, it really doesn't apply at all to the speech. He kept saying that American democracy needs to be defended. Yeah, I know. I gave 9 years as a SEAL to defend democracy overseas. Joe's been wasting away in D.C. for like 50 years. He's just been an elite blowhard over there. Our perspective, me and him, of democracy is very different. And I think it is with the American people too. But they always close out. They have to, with some dream, hope, and together, some really nice words, despite the first 20 minutes of casting out half the country as enemies of the states. Telling us, a nation big enough, no one left behind. Who wrote this word salad? You just basically said Republicans don't have a place on this earth. Well, Joe did say randomly, this was great. Listen to this.
We're going to end cancer as we know it. Mark my words.
I mean, why not? Throw it in there. I mean, you got to have at least a policy in this whole thing. There was not a single other policy idea. It was all buzzwords except for, we're going to cure cancer at the end. And one thing that was totally neglected here, and this is my problem with Democrats in general, is they speak in these broad generalities. Who are these MAGA Republicans? Like, seriously, tell me, define what a MAGA Republican is. I mean, you can't even define a woman, so I'm sure this one's going to be hard. But, I mean, I know I'm MAGA, folks. Like, I have the T-shirt, I wear it to the gym. But who are these people which you speak of? Are you talking about the suburban housewife that may or may not have liked everything about Donald Trump, but voted for him because she didn't want her pre-K children wearing masks to school? Is she the great unwashed, which you spent a bunch of minutes insulting? How many people are you talking about here? 10 million, 40 million? Is it anyone who voted for Trump? I think if you're going to decide to go down this, what did you call it, semi-fascist labeling route, you're going to have to get a little bit more specific. I mean, KJP said on Thursday that anyone who didn't agree with the majority is an extremist.
And again, we see majority of Americans who disagree. And so when you are not with where majority of Americans are, then, that is extreme. That is an extreme way of thinking.
Some of the greatest innovations in history have come through dissent. So she's not really good at her job. I mean, this is a pretty disturbing anti-democratic take. Probably why they tried to walk it back. I mean, you literally reversed course, Joe Biden. Today, you reversed course. You said, I don't consider any Trump supporter a threat to the country. That's the total opposite of what you said last night.
Come on, look, guys. You keep trying to make that case. I don't consider any Trump supporter a threat to the country.
Does he not remember what he said not even 24 hours ago? This is why people are mad. This political garbage that leads to them not being able to afford gas, people aren't able to buy baby formula. And we're being crushed by 9% inflation. We have our schools taking parental consent away from education. And what does Biden do? He sticks the FBI on us and called us domestic terrorists for wanting a say in our kids' schooling. This is why people are mad. Then they went out and they spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on this focus group term, ultra MAGA. This was a deliberate strategy and policy response to these very real problems being called out by everyday Americans, dissenters. It's not extreme, it's free speech. But this Joe Biden speech from last night is ludicrous. It doesn't make anybody less supportive of Trump. It makes people less supportive of you, Joe Biden. It's a big problem.